Some examples are an individual who's just absolutely not a morning person and isn't too with it in the morning, doesn't like to take their medications in the morning, and going into the physician and seeing if we could change medication times for that individual. So instead of having to have that extra thing they didn't want to deal with in the morning, they could then take them in the evening. That prevented a lot of errors. We had
As you go through the examples, breathe a little so that there's a little break.
pause. Okay.
You know what? Sounds like you're sitting in an aviary. It's amazing.
Because it's picking up all the bird?
Yeah,
Really?
I can reduce that. It's
I
kind of nice.
I
know.
don't even hear them.
I can barely
so
hear
funny.
them, but with this,
But it
So-
really comes up. Huh?
Give me some more examples, because I can't, when I'm
Okay.
talking, I can't think
No,
of them
I
all.
think that was your first one where you, what's the triangle?
Change.
Changing med times to what works best for the individual. So that's
Okay.
sort of the
I kind of already
summation
did
of what you
that.
just did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a few
And then
others.
there's another one, changing from bottles to bubble packs.
Okay.
But yeah, okay.
That's
Then
yeah.
I'm trying to see if there's any more that kind of go along with that. No. Holiday stress reduction. That's really a good one.
Okay, I'll do those, and I'll just keep saying another individual or this example or whatever, and you
Yeah,
can chop it up
another
how you want.
example, but then just give a breath before each example, so then we can chop it up more easily.
Okay, and then if I stop talking, you can just shoot another example to
Yeah,
me.
good.
Okay, are you ready?
sure,
Or are you going?
go.
Another example that we found pretty prevalent was people who had their medications in bottles, their pills all coming in bottles, instead of using bubble packs. Whether an individual is taking the medication out themselves or if they have support from staff, we found it's much better to have them in bubble packs. Then there's a visual prompt there. You can see that the medication has been popped. If there's more than one medication in a little blister on the bubble pack, you can see if one was left in there, so that error is caught before it happens. So that's a real simple, straightforward way to prevent errors there. In order to prevent medication errors when pills come from the pharmacy in a pill bottle, you can request the pharmacist to put them in a bubble pack instead. That way the individual pills you can see them, and then it's much more clear if you're popping from that bubble pack into a cup for an individual, if they're taking it out themselves. You know if one's gotten stuck, you know if the medication's been administered at the proper time or not, because you've got a visual. It's pretty inexpensive. Some pharmacies will do it at no cost. Some charge a minimal fee to do that. Another situation that arises for everyone every year is the stress around holidays. We find that individuals tend to have a lot more stress, either because they're going to see family, maybe taking a trip, maybe not having anywhere to go and finding that more stressful for them. So the rate of medication error seems to go up at that time of year, holiday, Christmas time, even sometimes people's birthdays. So having dialogues with individuals about that and finding ways that work to reduce stress for them is helpful, as well as training staff so that they have that awareness that this might be a more stressful time for the individual and a time that maybe more medication errors would occur. They often will have medication errors when at home if they're visiting family over a holiday. So providing that extra education to not only the person receiving services but the family members. I always instill on staff when we're doing training the importance of education as they're popping medications, explaining to individuals what the medication is for, what it looks like, what it does, why it's important to take it, what any possible side effects are, so that the individual can alert staff if they feel any, and so the staff can be observing if there are any side effects, and just providing that educational opportunity at every medication administration, I think, is very important. Individuals often want their own privacy when they're taking medication, and some people don't want staff right there hovering over them. So I think it's important to have those conversations with people and ask them what makes them feel comfortable. If there's a particular staff that they'd prefer to be there to support them, if there's a certain time of day, whatever it can be, try to get to the reason behind an individual not wanting support. We found that medication errors sometimes occur when a staff member will hand an individual their cup with medication in it, and the individual will leave the room and sometimes dump that medication in the trash or hide it somewhere and not alert staff. And that could possibly go on for days or weeks. And in that case, there may be other ramifications. You might have a spike in behavioral issues, increased seizure activity if someone's missing their medication and staff's not aware. So really, again, just going back and communicating with the individual the importance that they let staff assist them, and if they don't want that, what the reason is behind that. Oftentimes, individuals will take their medication from the original container and put it into maybe a weekly pill box. We found that often the pills are stuck in the bottom, or they're not seen because they're the same color maybe as the pill box is. So we found that a simple solution for some individuals is just to affix some white paper into the bottom of those medication compartments, so you can see easily whether a medication's been taken out or not. There are also some technological things we can do to avoid medication errors. People can set their cell phones or have staff assist them in setting their cell phones to set alarms. Individuals can either receive a phone call reminder or get a text reminder from staff. We had an individual who had set up a system with his support staff to give him a phone call every day at noon to take his medication, and he wouldn't answer the phone. So in having a conversation with him about why he wasn't answering the phone for the reminders, he let us know that he's at work at that time and would get in trouble with his employer if he were answering the phone, but he could look at his phone to get a text reminder. So that was a pretty simple solution to give him that prompt, and he wasn't missing his noon medications anymore. There's several online sites that people can go to get pill reminders that will talk to them and tell them it's medication time, that will lock and unlock certain compartments for particular days only on their medication box. There are also apps that you can purchase for your telephone to get reminders. Going back to having personal dialogues with people about what's working and not working for them, we found with one young woman that the most important thing to her is her art. So she really enjoys painting, and medications come secondary to her. So she was forgetting to take her medications pretty frequently, and what she decided to do as a reminder was to paint a painting and hang it by the door to remind her to take her medications every day, rather than having a big sign or something that was looking institutional in her home. She did that. Another young woman used a whiteboard to write down her medication schedule, and she was very proud of the fact that she was going to adult literacy group at the local library. So that gave her the opportunity to practice her reading and writing skills and work on educating herself with her medications and taking a more active role in that. Going back to having personal dialogues with people about what's working and not working for them, we found with one young woman that the most important thing to her is her art. So she really enjoys painting, and medications come secondary to her. So she was forgetting to take her medications pretty frequently, and what she decided to do as a reminder was to paint a painting and hang it by the door to remind her to take her medications every day, rather than having a big sign or something that was looking institutional in her home. She did that. Another young woman used a whiteboard to write down her medication schedule, And she was very proud of the fact that she was going to a adult literacy group at the local library. So that gave her the opportunity to practice her reading and writing skills and work on educating herself with their medications and taking a more active role in that. Sometimes people have to take their medications maybe a half hour before or after a meal. Another young woman that I worked with, we brainstormed and realized that the one medication she needed to take first thing in the morning when she got up prior to eating her breakfast meal was one that she was forgetting. So we separated that pill and put it right next to her alarm clock in a cup. So whenever she got up in the morning, that medication was right there. The rest of her medication was in the kitchen for her. And that seemed very helpful for her and worked in her daily schedule. We were finding if an agency didn't have specific people assigned to either check the medications in when they had a medication delivery or call the refills in, like Samantha does all, she'll work with Michelle to do her refills. So if there wasn't a person assigned to do it and no one took that responsibility, it wasn't always happening. So working with the individual to have them assist in calling in their own refills, or if they need staff support, to have staff assigned so that within the agency they know who's responsible to call in those refills so people aren't running out of medications. Another common thing that we found with the individuals in brainstorming with them is that a lot of the medications they take make their mouths dry, so they don't want to take them. A pretty simple solution to that is carry some sugar-free candy around with them. That keeps the mouth moist, and people are more likely to take their medications. There was a young woman who disclosed to us that when she went to take her medications in the morning, that they would crumble and fall apart, so she was unable to take them. What we discovered in talking through her process about when she takes the medications is that she was storing them in a cabinet in her kitchen over her coffee pot. So when she made coffee in the morning, the steam from the coffee pot rose up and was contaminating the medication, getting it moist, and they would crumble, so she couldn't take them. So simple solution to that was just to move the location that the medications are stored. They should be stored somewhere that's a nice, dry, cool place. It's also helpful if an individual's medications, if they're listed out on a medication administration record, that all the AM medications, all the noons, PMs are all together, rather than having them AM, nighttime, that kind of thing, putting them in chronological order. And then it's also helpful for some people that are very visual if they're color-coded. So for example, all the AM medications could be coded in yellow highlighter. All the PMs could be blue. It's also helpful if there's a medication administration record that the individual, if they're capable, sign that when they take their medications, and staff comes back and signs with them. Allowing individuals to have a say when a new staff is being trained on assisting them with medications is really helpful. They can give them preferences and assist each other in the process. In discovering the medication errors and the numbers of them we had, we broke those down into categories that we found to be the most common. Those were people forgetting to take their medications, either taking the wrong medication or an extra dose, going on a home visit, and either the individual getting busy because their schedule's changed and they're not doing the same routine anymore, so they forget to take their medications, or a family member is now responsible for assisting and the family member has forgotten. So we brainstormed with those different areas, trying to look for solutions to those problems.